Hi, this is Salik, and welcome to another episode of the Growth Philosophy Podcast, a bite-sized weekly podcast which aims to help you think better and improve your life. Last week, I talked about what growth mindset is. This week, I want to continue on that same thread and touch on yet another frequently asked question about mindset. That about fixed mindset. So what exactly is a fixed mindset? Growth mindset, as you learned in last week's episode, is a mindset that helps you move forward. To refresh your memory, here is the growth mindset definition from last week's episode. Growth mindset is a belief system, a way of thinking that helps you move forward and make good decisions, even when you are faced with challenges and setbacks. That ability to move forward is a key characteristic of having a growth mindset, because progress is important. But why is progress so important? You might be wondering. What happens when you're not moving forward? Before I answer that question, I'll actually give you a moment to think about that and answer it yourself. Have a think. Why do you think progress is important? Got the answer? Let's check if you're on the same page. If your answer was to do with being stuck, then you're absolutely spot on. To put it simply, when you don't make any progress, you don't move forward. In other words, you stay stuck. Remember that phrase about an object in motion staying in motion? The opposite of that also is true. An object at rest stays at rest. That is not just a saying, by the way. It's a fundamental principle of physics. It is, in fact, Newton's first law of motion. This is exactly why, when a golf ball or a cricket ball is resting, it will continue to stay put until it is moved. Until you move it, it will not actually move. But then once it is moved, it will continue to roll. Fixed mindset then, using the Newton's first law of motion as an example, is a mindset that's at rest. It is a stationary mindset, if you will. It stays put. It doesn't really move forward or go anywhere, really. This makes fixed mindset the opposite of growth mindset, which is a mindset that's all about moving forward and progress. Someone with a fixed mindset is geared to not moving forward, if moving at all. They are people who are perpetually stuck. You know those people who are just stuck all the time? Like they're always complaining, they don't really know what to do, where to go with their lives. They are classic examples of people with fixed mindsets. And they will stay stuck until their mindset changes, or they actually do something to change their mindset. So when talking about fixed mindset, one factor that absolutely needs to be explored is that of abilities. Now here is one of the most fundamental characteristics of people with a fixed mindset. They believe their abilities are fixed. That is to say that they believe they either can or they can't. Fixed mindset is a mindset that leads to beliefs like how people are born with talents and that talents cannot be developed. When someone is absolutely convinced that they either have it or they don't, that their abilities and talents are fixed, they won't even try, since there isn't any point in trying. Make sense? So let me put it like this. If a person believes that they do not have the talents to be a good student, they won't even try to be a good student, because as far as they're concerned, what would be the point? Since they were not born with the talents of a good student, why would working at it make any difference? That's how they would think. That would be the thought process of someone with a fixed mindset. Because based on their belief system, they just were not born with the necessary talents. It's ridiculous, right? Sounds unreal to you. But actually a lot of people think like that. If you don't, however, then I'm sending you a virtual high five, because that means you're clearly on the right track. As for that limited way of thinking that fixed mindset embodies, here is the reality. It is never that black and white. It is never as simple as some people being born with talents while others are not. If it was that simple, most people that we read about or hear about today would never have made their marks or gotten into the pages of history books. Let me give you some examples. Now, you've heard of Abraham Lincoln, right? Like, who hasn't? So, Abraham Lincoln actually, believe it or not, had to go through loads of setbacks and challenges. Now, if he believed that he did not have the talents to be a statesman, he would never have become one of the greatest statesmen that the world has ever known. It's not as if he did not have reasons to believe that he did not have what it takes. He actually had many, many setbacks, and all those setbacks could have very easily led him to believe that he just did not have what it takes. Thankfully, though, he had a growth mindset. So he did not believe that his abilities were set in stone. He worked at it despite the challenges. He kept at it, and that hard work and perseverance ultimately helped him to create history. Then there is Edison, the poster child of perseverance. He famously failed nearly 1,000 times while creating the light bulb. He could have given up after the first 5 or even 10 attempts. By any standards, 10 tries are plenty of tries, right? Surely after 10 failed attempts, it would be reasonable to think that it just is not meant to be. But that is not what he believed. Edison believed it could be done, so he kept at it, and he got it done. If he had a fixed mindset, we might not be in the age of technology that we are enjoying right now. What a difference mindset makes. And they're not the only examples, by the way. History is full of examples like that. The record books are full of people who have gone and done the impossible because they did not believe that their abilities and capabilities had limits. They had a growth mindset, which meant they kept going despite challenges and setbacks and obstacles, even when there were lots of them. This is a mindset, after all, that resulted in Colonel Sanders creating one of the biggest fast food franchises in the world right now. In case you don't know who I'm talking about the guy who created KFC. This is also the mindset which was instrumental in Henry Ford revolutionizing transportation. Now, it's not that they did not face challenges, because they did, and a lot of them. They probably faced more challenges than any of us could ever imagine or think of. But their mindset was not fixed. They never believed it could not be done. They never believed they were not good enough. They never believed their talents were defined at birth. Quite the opposite. They had faith in their abilities and their ideas. They believed it could be done. They believed that setbacks were opportunities to learn from, and that mindset of theirs enabled them to keep going until they achieved what they set out to achieve. Growth mindset is what enabled those who created history to create history. And that, by the way, is a key difference between those with a fixed mindset and those with a growth mindset. People with a fixed mindset rarely, if ever, achieve any goals or accomplish anything great. On the other hand, those who accomplish great things always have a growth mindset, without fail. Because without having a growth mindset, it would be impossible to keep going when the obstacles crop up, which they always do, for the road to achieving anything worthwhile is never without obstacles. Life just is not a bed of roses, and that's just the reality of things. So let's examine the limits of possibility. Let's examine what's possible and not possible, because that is a major construct of fixed mindset. Napoleon famously said that the word impossible does not exist in his dictionary. That was a testament to his mindset, his operating system. He had a growth mindset, and that mindset enabled him to achieve incredible feats. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not commenting on his actions. Wars are never good. What I am commenting on, rather, are his achievements, which were extraordinary by anyone's standards. And he's not the only one, of course. Ever heard of Roger Bannister? In case you have not, He's the guy who ran the first 4-minute mile. He's the 4-minute mile guy. He did this in 1954 at the age of 25 in 3 minutes and 59.4 seconds exactly. Before he did this, before he ran the 4-minute mile, it was widely believed that it was impossible for a human being to run that fast. To run a mile in 4 minutes or less. But then he did it. If he believed in the claims of what was possible and what was not, if he believed that he was just not capable of achieving such a feat, he never would have done it. He never would have even tried. There were plenty of reasons to believe it too, to believe that he just did not have what it takes, since according to the experts of the time, the human body was not capable of running that fast. So everyone around him just kept on telling him that it was not possible to run a mile in 4 minutes or less. He could have easily believed them, he didn't. So there were plenty of reasons to believe that he just could not do it, but that did not stop him. His mindset refused to accept what was not possible, and that ultimately enabled him to achieve the impossible. Now, his is an extraordinary case, but it does prove the point. Since then, his record has been broken, in fact, multiple times. The current record for that stands at 3 minutes and 43.13 seconds. Yeah, so much for humans not being capable of running a 4-minute mile, huh? Now, people who created history by doing the impossible, people who, like Roger Bannister, they created history because they believed that even if things seemed impossible, they could be done. That it was still worth giving it a shot and giving it their best, and that helped them achieve the impossible. Let's face it, impossible, at the end of the day, is nearly always a matter of perspective. When we believe something to be impossible, it's our perspective. What we believe to be impossible is often simply a matter of imperfect knowledge or information, or even a matter of what society has taught us. In the early days, for example, people believed that it was impossible for the Earth to be round, because we would literally fall off, right? Like, logically, it would make sense for them that the Earth just could not be round. They did not know about gravity by that time. But then it was proven beyond any reasonable doubt that the Earth is in fact round. And there are other belief systems like that too. Like, people believed that it was impossible for humans to ever reach the moon. Then humans went to the moon. People believed it was impossible for humans to ever climb the Everest. Then Hillary and Tenzing Norgay climbed it. People believed it was impossible to ever go far into the space or land on another planet. Then the rover landed on Mars. What was once thought impossible have been proven to be possible, over and over. The realm of impossible has been thrashed and crossed so many times, it's incredible. The boundaries are impossible are always changing. What was believed to be impossible 5, 10, or even 50 years ago is not impossible anymore. And the same will happen to what we believe to be impossible now. They very likely will not be impossible a few years from now. We might very well have a transporter technology like the one in Star Trek, and immortality might become a reality. Who knows? But the point isn't how far science and technology will go, but rather about what we believe. Because the technologies and scientific breakthroughs that make the impossible possible start in someone's mind. And those people cannot come up with an idea like that. They cannot come up with ideas that can create possibles out of impossible situations if they believe their ideas are impossible. That's where it starts. All the breakthrough discoveries and inventions we have had, if their inventors had a fixed mindset, they would have labeled their ideas unrealistic and moved on to more realistic pursuits. We are living in the world we are living in today thanks to the fact that those people had growth mindsets, not fixed ones. How we think matters a lot. That is ultimately what makes impossible possible. So to sum it up, here is the definition of fixed mindset. It is a belief system where people believe that reality, abilities, and qualities are fixed. Let that sink in a bit. It is a belief system where people believe that reality, abilities, and qualities are fixed. People with fixed mindsets believe that what's possible is clearly defined, and that what is impossible is absolute. It can never be possible. They believe that their capabilities and talents are set in stone and can never be improved or changed. That's the mindset, at the end of the day, which leads to beliefs like you're either born with it or you're not. Fixed mindset limits people's abilities, as they never really scratch the surface of their true potential. That's the mindset that gets people to give up too soon, and the mindset that holds people back and leads to a life of regrets. It should be abundantly clear by now why having a fixed mindset is bad for you. In case this hasn't quite sunk in yet, have another listen of this podcast. Sometimes listening to something multiple times deepens our understanding, as the repetition helps our minds consolidate the information better. But just to summarize, fixed mindset leads to the belief that we cannot grow and improve, whereas growth mindset establishes the opposite belief. Now, before I go, I have something I would like you to do today, a self-introspection awareness exercise of sorts. I want you to examine your mindset. Ask yourself, do you have a growth mindset or a fixed one? Ask yourself about what you believe you can achieve, about what you believe about your talents and capabilities. Jot down the answers, and then think about them. Examine how true they are, and if they are actually helping you or harming you. If your beliefs, your mindset, is harming you, then it's about time to change them and replace them with beliefs and a mindset that will help you and empower you. Makes sense, right? These exercises and questions will help you build self-awareness, which is key to upgrading your mindset. So the next time you want to do something and you hear that small voice at the back of your mind saying, it is impossible, don't just listen to it and accept it. Instead, I want you to question it. So that's it for today. I hope you found today's episode useful. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, remember to do so, as that way you can be in the loop about new episodes and updates. If you have any feedback or questions, drop me a comment on my blog. That really is the best way to get in touch with me. As always, thank you for being with me. It is such a great pleasure to have you guys listen in, and I really appreciate your time. Have a great week.